What if the most powerful transformation of your entire life required absolutely nothing from you except the willingness to close your eyes? What if while the world outside was busy, loud, and chaotic, your mind was quietly rebuilding itself, rewiring old patterns, dissolving years of limitation, and constructing an entirely new version of who you are, and you were simply asleep while it happened? What if the reality you are struggling so hard to change during the day could be gently, powerfully, and permanently shifted during the 8 hours you spend doing nothing at all? Most people fight their entire lives trying to change from the outside. They change their environment, their relationships, their careers, their appearance. But the one place they never think to look, the one territory they never consciously enter, is the sleeping mind, the most fertile soil in the entire universe of human transformation. Tonight, something is about to change for you. Not tomorrow, not next week. Tonight. Stay with me until the very end of this, because what you are about to understand will make you look at sleep, at sound, at silence, and at your own potential in a way you have never looked before. Your reality is waiting, and it begins right now. What if the most important work you will ever do in your life happens not when you are awake, not when you are striving, not when you are pushing, grinding, and exhausting yourself trying to become better, but rather in the sacred, silent hours when your eyes are closed, your body is still, and the world believes you are doing absolutely nothing? What if everything you have been searching for, the peace, the clarity, the strength, the transformation, was always available to you, not through more effort, but through deeper stillness? We live in a world that worships action. We are told to wake up earlier, to work harder, to fill every waking moment with productivity. But what if this obsession with constant doing is precisely the reason so many people remain exactly where they are year after year, despite all their effort? What if the door to real change is not found in the noise of the day, but in the quiet of the night? Let me take you somewhere first, somewhere deep inside yourself. Imagine a still lake. The surface is completely undisturbed. You can see all the way to the bottom. Every grain of sand, every stone, every movement of water is visible and clear. Now imagine someone throwing stones into that lake, one after another all day long. Ripples everywhere, chaos, confusion. You cannot see the bottom anymore. You cannot see the truth anymore. This is what happens to the human mind under constant stimulation, constant noise, constant pressure. Now imagine the stones stop, the throwing stops. The lake is left alone. Slowly, gradually, the ripples begin to settle. The surface becomes still again, and in that stillness, everything becomes visible once more. This is what intentional sleep, sacred sound, and conscious stillness do to the human mind. They allow the ripples to settle. They allow clarity to return. They allow the truth of who you are and what you are capable of to rise back to the surface. The ancient masters understood something that modern science is only now beginning to confirm. They understood that the quality of a person's inner world directly determines the quality of their outer reality, not the other way around, not your bank account, not your circumstances, not your past, your inner world, your beliefs, your subconscious patterns, the invisible architecture of your mind. And here is what makes sleep so extraordinarily powerful. During sleep, the gatekeeper of the conscious mind steps aside. The ego, with all its resistance, all its doubts, all its deeply held limitations, becomes quiet. The walls come down. And in that unguarded state, whatever you are feeding your mind, whatever sounds are playing, whatever words are being whispered into the silence of your room, goes directly into the deepest layers of your being without a single filter to stop it. This is not mysticism. This is neuroscience. This is biology. This is the architecture of how human beings actually change at the root level. When you are awake, your brain primarily operates in a state called beta. This is the state of active thinking, analysis, judgment, and reaction. Information enters your conscious mind, and your ego immediately begins to evaluate it, accept some of it, reject most of it, based on what it already believes to be true. This is why trying to change beliefs through sheer willpower is so incredibly difficult. The gatekeeper is always on duty, always defending the existing identity. But as you drift into sleep, your brain transitions. First into alpha, a state of relaxed awareness, then into theta, a deeply receptive, almost dreamlike state where the boundaries between conscious and subconscious begin to dissolve, and finally into delta, the deepest state of all, where the body heals, the mind integrates, and the soul, if you believe in such a thing, does its most profound work. In the theta and delta states, suggestion becomes reality, repetition becomes belief, sound becomes structure. Whatever is playing, whatever is being fed into that quiet space is not being analyzed. It is not being judged. It is being absorbed completely, deeply, permanently. This is why what you listen to before sleep matters so much. This is why the last thoughts you think before your eyes close matter so much. This is why the environment you create in your sleeping space matters so much, because you are not just resting, you are programming, you are building, you are becoming. Now let us talk about what happens when people do not understand this. When people fall asleep watching the news, the mind absorbs fear, threat, danger, division. When people fall asleep scrolling through comparison, through judgment, through the highlight reels of other lives, the subconscious takes notes, and it writes those notes into your identity while you sleep. You wake up feeling less than. You wake up feeling behind. You wake up feeling like you are not enough, and you cannot understand why, because you do not remember what your sleeping mind was doing all night. But turn this around. Change what plays in the dark, and you change what rises in the light. What if instead of fear, you fed your sleeping mind calm? What if instead of comparison, you fed it clarity? What if instead of noise, you fed it the kind of deep, grounded wisdom that speaks not to the restless surface of the mind, but to its silent, powerful depths? There are sounds that exist in this world that the human nervous system responds to on a level deeper than thought. The low hum of Tibetan singing bowls, the steady rhythm of rain against leaves, the frequencies embedded in ancient music that were not composed for entertainment but for healing, for calibration, for alignment, for the restoration of something in the human being that modern life constantly works to disturb. These sounds do something remarkable. They guide the brainwave patterns from the anxious chatter of beta down into the receptive openness of theta and delta. They create a bridge between the frantic mind and the peaceful one. They signal to the nervous system that it is safe, that the threat is gone, that the walls can come down, that the healing can begin. And in that state, something happens that cannot happen any other way. Old patterns begin to loosen. The beliefs you have carried since childhood, the ones that say you are not capable, not worthy, not strong enough, not smart enough, not enough at all, begin to lose their grip. Not because you are fighting them, not because you are analyzing them, but simply because you have stopped feeding them, because you have replaced the old noise with something older, something quieter, something infinitely more powerful. You see, real transformation does not come from effort alone. It comes from alignment. It comes from getting the deepest parts of yourself to move in the same direction as your conscious intention. And this alignment cannot happen when you are fighting yourself. It can only happen when you are still enough to stop fighting and simply allow the change to enter. There is a quality that must be developed before any of this becomes possible, a quality that is almost entirely lost in the modern world. That quality is discipline, not the harsh, punishing kind of discipline that beats you into submission, but the gentle, unwavering kind of discipline that creates a container for transformation. The discipline to protect your evening, to guard the hour before sleep the way a warrior guards the entrance to a sacred space, to understand that what you allow into your mind in those final waking moments is not a small decision. It is possibly the most important decision of your entire day. This means turning off what agitates. This means choosing what calms. This means creating rituals, small, consistent, intentional acts that signal to your mind and body that this time is different. This space is different. This is not just another night of unconscious living. This is practice. This is cultivation. This is the work that nobody sees but that produces results that everyone notices. The warrior does not only train in the field, the warrior trains in the mind, and the mind is most open, most teachable, most ready to be shaped in the quiet hours when the rest of the world is asleep and the noise of life cannot reach it. What you water grows, what you neglect withers, and what you plant in the fertile soil of your sleeping mind grows in ways and directions that your waking mind will be amazed to witness. People often ask why some individuals seem to change so dramatically and so quickly, why some people seem to wake up one day and simply be different, not slightly different, profoundly different, as though something fundamental has shifted at the very core of who they are. The outside world sees it and calls it luck, but it is not luck. It is what happens when the invisible inner work finally breaks through into the visible outer world. That work was happening in the silence, in the stillness, in the dark. And the beautiful thing, the thing that makes this not just inspiring but genuinely practical, is that you do not have to be extraordinary to do this work. You do not need special gifts. You do not need years of training. You need only this: awareness, intention, and the willingness to begin tonight. Tonight, before you close your eyes, make a choice. Choose what enters your mind. Choose the frequency of the sounds that fill your room. Choose the quality of the last thoughts you think. Because tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, your reality will not be exactly what it was today. It will have shifted slightly, imperceptibly, in the direction of what you chose to plant. And if you do this tonight, and then again tomorrow night and the night after that, the shifts compound, the roots grow deeper, the tree of who you are becomes stronger, more grounded, more unshakable, and one day you will look around at your life and not quite recognize it because it will have become something you once only dared to imagine in the quiet of your most honest moments. This is not fantasy. This is how human beings actually change, from the inside out, from the deep to the surface, from the invisible to the visible, from the sleeping mind to the waking world. The question is never whether transformation is possible. It is always whether you are willing to create the conditions for it. Create the conditions tonight. So tonight, when the lights go low and the world goes quiet, do not waste that sacred space. Fill it with something worthy of who you are becoming. Let the right frequencies wash over you. Let the right words settle into your depths. Let the healing, the rewiring, the gentle revolution of your becoming happen in the dark, where all real transformations have always begun. Your new reality is not tomorrow, it is tonight.